Before we even start to join our Windows 10 machines, let's just go through some best practices that you may have to consider before you join those PCs to the domain. Today we have a lot of things changed because when you have like a lot of different operating systems that you have to join and make it ready on the same time on the same day, that is where automation comes in. We have like in Office 365 we have something called autopilot in Azure, and then we have like SCCM, and then we have other configuration management tools which automatically configures the operating system for us. We run different scripts which installs the operating system, names it, and then joins it to the domain too for us. So that is one part. But what if we are doing it manually, and then even if not doing it manually, we have to know the best practices. So in here we have San Francisco office. You can see that this is our knowledge train San Francisco Finance desktop 01, and which is already installed. So what I can do is I can simply go to my VirtualBox, and in here you can see this is my domain controller, and if I go here I type CMD, and on the CMD I try to look for the host name and IP address configuration. If I type host name here, you can see that is my name for my domain controller, and then if I do ipconfig, you can see that is my IP. So when joining a computer to the domain, before even doing that, the first thing that you may have to do is you need to find out what is the host name. So if I go and see host name, you can see this is the default naming that I got, but again it may not fit in my processes that I have, the policies and procedures that I have within the company, and I want to use my own naming convention that we created for this lab, or you may have your own naming convention in your company. So let's get it started, and before joining it to the domain, we need to make sure that we have the right computer name. And in order to do that, you can go to my computer or this PC, go to Properties, Advanced System Settings, and then Computer Name, and Change. And in here, you can simply name it as we have on the lab. So on the lab, we have a Knowledge Train, San Francisco Finance Desktop 01. So Knowledge Train SFO, um, again capital letter SFO, Finance, and it's a Desktop 01. So that is the naming convention that we have, from where we will know it's from Knowledge Train. It is at San Francisco, and it is on like it is a desktop, and this is a desktop 1. So close this, and then before I restart, you can see that if I do ipconfig, the IP address that I have is 192.168.56.101, which is completely different from here. So we need to make sure that we get an IP address within the same range from our DHCP system. So if you don't have any DHCP set up yet, you can assign it statically, and just put 10.0.1.2, and then for the DNS put 10.0.1.2. Alright, so that is how you put the name and then the IP address. So these are the main and basic configurations that you have to consider. One other best practice is that make sure that whenever you delegate access to your help desk, like to join it to the domain, so that is something that you will have to consider, that you only allow those people who are authorized to join a PC to the domain. So you cannot allow all your users and tell them, hey, you are able to join your the PCs to the domain. That is going to be a big security problem. So after you join it to the domain, simply it will ask for a restart, which we canceled. So we will restart it manually, and then once it is restarted, we can then join it to the domain. Alright, so after the restart, if I go to CMD and type hostname, you can see we have the right naming convention here. And if I do ipconfig, I have the right IP address. If I do ping 10.0.1.2, which is its own IP address, I can ping it. If I click on like put 10.0.1.1, I can ping that too. If I go here on the server, you can see that I have IP address of 10.0.1.1. If I do 10 ping 10.0.1.2, you can see that I can ping it. All right, so I can ping from here to here and here to here. And another thing that I can do is now I can go and join this PC to the domain after verifying the connectivity. So if I go to properties again, advanced system settings, and then in here can go to computer name, change, and then instead of workgroup, I click on domain. So our domain name was kt.local, right? So put kt.local, it will prompt for the authorization. So this is going to be the user account who have the permission to join to the domain. So Davis J is having permissions. So I will use his account, and we will learn uh, how can we delegate access. So that someone can join a PC to the domain and so on. Alright, so the password is not working for him. I will use administrator. Here you go. So welcome to the kt.local domain. Press OK here. Close, close, and then restart. After the restart is done, you can simply log in either locally or you can log into the domain. So when you make a server as a domain controller, you cannot log in locally, but when you have a workstation, you can log in locally or through the domain. But for your employees, always make sure that they log into the domain, and local access for them should be disabled, and the IT should only have the access to the local account. So in here we will type Davis J, and then we will type the password. I hope it's gonna work. All right, so it's not working. It's a good troubleshooting to learn. So in order to reset a password for David J, which is not working, I will simply go to his account, which was HR, users, John Davis, and then right click and reset. So we will set up a new password for him. And this time I will say user must change password at next login. Press OK. Oh, didn't match. The password didn't match. So 123 is what I'm using. Shouldn't be saying that. Okay, I was using the same password last time. So this time I will use different password. It's server, so you basically have a lot of complexity you have to take care of. So you need to make sure you use right password. Davis J and then the password. Alright, so the user must change the password before signing in. That's what you want for a new employee. You want them to have their own password, right? So that is something really important that you want to do. Okay, let me make sure I am putting the right password here. There you go. The password is now changed. If I come to Active Directory now and then if I go to computers, you can see that I have Knowledge Train, SFO, Finance, Desktop, O1 created automatically, right? what I can do is I can simply drag it into workstation, and it is just telling me if this isn't going to be in there. Like if there are policies that is applied here, it will apply. So make sure that when you move, there's no policies applied that you may not want to be applied. So right now we don't have something like that to be worried about. So I have this finance created. If I right click now on it, you can see that the DNS name, workstation type, the operating system, the version, all of them is now selected and I have it there. So that is how you join a computer to the domain by keeping this best practices in mind.